Hey everyone, Danny here today with my nephew Alex again to talk to you about the second book in Star Wars Thrawn series, The Dark Force Rising. In this review, we are going to cover the structure and direction of the story. We're going to let you know if there's anything about it we really didn't like, anything we really loved. We're going to talk about the narration. And as with always, I'll let you know if there was any mature elements to the book that we discovered. Before we get started, though, if, like us, you love audiobooks, however, you kind of struggle to pick good ones and you like a little bit of help, subscribe. Turn on notifications. Down in the comments, that was why I pointed down there. Down in the comments, let me know of any books that you'd like me to review for you. I love getting requests. I'll listen to the book. It has to be an audiobook. I listen to these driving trucks, and reading while driving a semi-truck is really a bad idea. So it's an audiobook. I'll listen, I'll post a review, and then you can take it to there. Now, this is a series that I'm listening to based on Alex's request. We were talking about, hey, let's do this together. We both love audiobooks, and he says, have you listened to this? Nope. And
here we are.
Here we are, right? Yep. And you had a specific reason why you wanted this one, right?
Yeah, so when episode 7 and 8 came out, there's a lot of controversy surrounding those films, and personally, I did not really care for Disney's direction with Star Wars, and so I got kind of fed up with Disney's version of Star Wars, so I figured, well, you know what, I've heard a lot about this thing called the Thrawn Trilogy, this apparently really great book that was written back in the 90s, set right after the end of episode 6, and so I figured I would give it a shot and try and see what some of the original ideas, some of the older ideas were for the direction that the series would go after episode 6. And I gotta say, I really liked what I found, what I heard.
And see, I'm old enough, I remember when Star Wars first came out. I loved those movies. And I've tried reading or listening to other Star Wars books, and I've had a hard time relating them to those movies. And so that's one of the things that I love about this, is because this follows episode 6, I can tie it right into the timeline really easy. In fact, I really like it. They do a lot of references. Something will happen, and then Luke will remember him and Leia trying to, escape on the Death Star, or Han will have a flashback to Leia taking over and, taking the blaster out of their hands, and I'll get us out of here since you idiots can't figure out how to do it, kind of a thing. And I'm like, I love that. Yeah. By the way, we've got construction going out on the street here. I'm going to re-listen to the video at the end, and if that background noise that we're hearing, and it sounds loud to us, is loud on the video, we'll have to redo the video. But if the video posts, then you know that it's not that loud and disturbing. Did you, are you like me to where I love it when they do that, when they reference back to the original movies there?
I do, yeah. I'd say it's immersive, because then it also brings back those pictures to your mind as well, and not just audio. And I know Luke Skywalker, he references quite a bit in this book too, his fight with Darth Vader and his encounter with Emperor Palpatine, because that ends up playing a large role,
right?
And some of those memories. So yeah, I really appreciate that, and it also makes it feel natural compared to, you could watch 4, 5, and 6, and then start listening to these audiobooks, and it feels like a natural flow, and so.
And that's where the narration. So this is a book that uses sound effects. And as we talked about in the video for the first book, I typically don't like audiobooks that use sound effects, because the sound effects actually interrupt and interfere with the listening experience. But they have such a good narrator, and they use the sound effects so well that it does draw you in, and then you get that reference back to something, and you picture Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and it's just this natural, it fits, it flows, it draws you in, kind of a thing. And the narrator does a great job. Marc Thompson does a wonderful job as a narrator.
At one point, there's an alarm going off in one of the Star Destroyers, and the Imperial Star Destroyers have a very distinctive sort of alarm from the movies, and it's that same distinctive alarm that I just love. So,
yeah, the sound effects definitely fit the movie. They do a great job. There's someone's phone going off in the background here. This book 2, now to book 2. Book 2 ends after the Battle of Sluis Vaughn. And you also have Talon Card, who is fleeing Merker because he's like kind of like Han Solo. He's like a polished version of Han Solo.
He's like an older, a little bit more experienced version of Han Solo.
Yeah, and a more polished, like Han Solo doesn't do politics. He doesn't do tact.
Yeah.
Talon Card does politics. He does tact. He's very polished and tactful, and has a code of honor. So he's a very polished. It's actually one of the things that I like with this book series is the characters that get introduced are unique from they fit the universe.
Yeah.
But they have their own unique personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting to see how these new characters fit into the universe and their interactions with these developments that are happening throughout this galaxy. And some of these characters are caught up between this war between the New Republic and the Empire, which I think is specifically for Talon Card as a smuggler. It's a really interesting thing to watch how he deals with this, because on one hand, there's good business still to be had in what remains of the Empire. But at this point, the Empire only controls roughly a quarter of the galaxy. And so it's clear to most people that the New Republic is winning, but at the same point, there's still a lot of business to be had in the Empire, so there's kind of a split between, do we want to get some goodwill with the New Republic and just like exclusively deal with them, or do we want to try and remain neutral, or how do we want to play this? Also, they still don't want to make the Empire too angry, or the Empire will go after them.
Yeah, he's trying to walk that fine line, and it's the same thing that Han Solo did in the first Star Wars. He's trying to walk this fine line of, I'm a smuggler, I'm neutral, I'm not going to pick sides, I'll deal with whoever pays me, and I want to stay there. But he's also got a conscience, and he's a really good, likable. It's interesting to me, the only person in these books that I do not like, Borsk Failure.
Yeah.
Don't like him at all, and he's on the side of the Rebel Alliance. He's a good guy, or the New Republic. He's supposed to be a good guy on the side of the New Republic. There are a lot of hints, and you're really led to believe that he is a traitor, and you discover in this book whether or not he is a traitor, and he gets his comeuppance, and I loved how he got his. I mean, so it reached that vital point, and I'm pulling up to a dairy farm, and I've got to get out and do my stuff. And then while the truck is pumping, normally I walk around outside, and I have time to kill it. It takes about half an hour to pump onto my truck, and so I'm just walking around, twiddling my thumbs, waiting. But it's like I'm back into the truck. I'm listening to it while I'm watching what's going on outside. And so I'm sitting at the farm going, yeah! Oh, yeah, get him. Yeah,
it was really good. Because Failure, he's just such a, like you said, he's a dislikable character, but he fits well into the narrative that the New Republic is this brand new government, right? And there's a lot of still internal strife, and so there's still some question as to is the Rebel Alliance or the New Republic actually capable of standing on its own? And so on one hand, so you get this character Failure who comes in and really just creates some serious issues that make you question the direction that the New Republic is going to go. And so when he does finally get his comeuppance, it's really good.
Yeah. And the way they do the comeuppance, if I was one of the people on board that ship, would have worked. I mean, that was one of the things I loved about the way they do his. So Alex is in the Navy. I served in the Marine Corps. We both understand people in the military, loyalty and honor has very special, deep meaning to us. And so the way they expose the fact that he truly has no loyalty and honor, and, he had the military on his side, and now the military's like, wait a minute, this isn't who we thought. Oh, forget you. You go to your room. We're going to do the right thing. That would work.
Yeah.
In real life, that would work.
Yeah, definitely would.
I mean, wouldn't you see that if you were, going? You'd be going,
if
I'm not following that guy.
Exactly. Yeah. If I was on that ship, I'd be like, all right,
we're gonna frag this dude and go do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
And I love that. The other guy that I just really cannot stand. He's a Jedi master. But he's a Jedi master that was dead and has been
He went into. He was almost. He left
he's
the
a
galaxy.
Clone. He's a clone of a Jedi master.
Yeah.
We made notes, and I'm still struggling with coming up with names and stuff.
Yeah. But with Sabayoth is the name of the Jedi Master. What I really like about him is seeing how Thrawn manipulates him, and it's difficult because on one hand, Sabayoth, and it's mentioned a few times in the book that he's pretty much insane, and so to see how Thrawn manipulates that insanity to get his will with Sabayoth, and Sabayoth ends up being a significant help to the Empire at times.
But I got a feeling. That Sabayoth is going to play a major role in Thrawn's downfall. Do you get that feeling?
Yeah, I think so. Because I definitely see where some of Thrawn's plans possibly have leaned a bit heavily on. Essentially, Sabayoth, he has the ability through the Force to help coordinate Imperial forces where they normally would not be able to be as coordinated. And so at times it appears that Thrawn is beginning to start relying on this ability a bit heavily. And so...
And Thrawn's a Grand Admiral, and at this point, the Rebel Alliance thought that they had destroyed all of the Grand Admirals. And then Thrawn comes into the picture and catches them completely by surprise. They now know there's a when they first discovered there's a Grand Admiral, there's actually this huge debate of no, there's not, we killed them all. And the important thing about Thrawn is not human. And everybody knows that the Emperor only relied on humans. You had to be human to become a Grand Admiral. So if Thrawn, who's a non-human, became a Grand Admiral, then he's really got to be something. And it's almost like he's infallible.
Yeah,
and then
make it out.
And then he loses a couple of times, and you start to see, okay, he's not as infallible as he appeared in the beginning. And so I think that the whole thing with Sabayoth is going to come back and bite him in the end. Yeah. And he's going to end up wishing that he had listened to Commander Paleon, who was trying to warn him, because Commander Paleon starts figuring out, hey, I can actually throw my 2 cents in here. I can let Thrawn know I disagree with him, and Thrawn won't kill me for disagreeing with him. And so he starts disagreeing with him, and I think he's going to end up regretting not listening to Paleon on that one.
I think so too. I do think that a couple times when Thrawn has been defeated or his plan hasn't worked all the way, has partially been due to the Force, which is involved with some of the other protagonists. And Thrawn, of course, not being a Force-sensitive character, and always surrounding himself with these creatures that block the Force. He knows how to manipulate, Sabayoth, but I think he takes for granted at times some of the Force-sensitive characters in the Rebel Alliance and some of their abilities. Yeah,
this book series introduced Ysilamari, which are these creatures that create this Force bubble where the Force doesn't work. So he can surround a Jedi with these creatures, and the Jedi loses all of his powers of the Force, all of his access to the Force. And that's how he protects himself from Sabayoth, is through that, You get General Hitless comes back in.
Yeah, he saved the day. Yeah.
Did you figure out ahead of time whether he was a good guy or a bad guy?
I don't think I did. No, because I didn't know much about General Hitless before this book.
Right.
So I wasn't sure. I thought maybe he might have. At first, I thought maybe he might have been a mercenary or something like that. Maybe he knew the smugglers and thought it would be an opportunity to make some money. That's what I was thinking at first. But of course, that doesn't end up being the case. And so And the one thing is, they mentioned that General Hitless had a falling out with the Rebel Alliance, but I didn't
specifically with Mon Mothma.
Yeah, with Mon Mothma, but I don't think they ever elaborate on what exactly happened there. At least not in the second book.
They give a brief story of what happened in this book, and then in book 3 it goes into more detail, and you really learn more about what happened there, and the way they play it off when he's introduced into the story, you have Han Solo, who's all for, hey, he's a great guy, and you have Lando Calrissian, who's like, hold on a second, Thrawn has already done this, and this. This could be a Thrawn trap. And it did. It had me going, oh, that could be a Thrawn trap.
Yeah.
Well, I have no clue now. Do you trust this guy or don't? And that's the thing with Thrawn and how good Thrawn is. Something happens, and as the outsider reading the story, okay, he's a good guy. You can trust him. But they don't trust him, and when they go, yeah, but this could be a Thrawn trap, you have to admit, that could be a Thrawn trap. I actually understand why they refuse to trust this guy. It makes sense. I wouldn't want to just blindly trust anything facing an enemy like Thrawn either.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the book ends, so you've got the Dark Fleet. So book 1 ended with the attack on Sluis Vaughn, and the Imperial forces are trying to get more ships. They're outnumbered, so they're trying to get more ships. So they go in there to try to get more ships. They lose, but it's kind of a
draw.
Yeah, it's almost kind of a draw, the way they end up losing. They don't get the ships, but there's still a whole lot of ships that end up getting destroyed there. And then this book ends with a battle for the Dark Fleet, which is like 200 ships that have been lost in space for 50 years. Turns out that Talon Card knows where they are. Talon Card will bring the rebels there, but Thrawn's been hunting for them. When all of a sudden they announced that there's only 15 of them left, did that throw you like it threw me?
Yeah, because they really set it up. Once the Rebel fleet arrives, once the Imperial fleet arrives, there's this fight over the Dark Fleet. But and this fight is raging, but it takes a while before the Rebels actually realize, hold on, there's supposed to be 200 ships here. We're fighting over like 14 or 15, yeah. And they realize that Thrawn has already gotten to them. They've already lost, and they've been fighting this battle and losing these ships for not for nothing, but for a lot less than they thought they were. And I believe they end up taking the 14 or 15.
Yeah, they get the 14 or 15.
Compared to all the ships that
the 185 that Thrawn got. Yeah,
it made it.
Well, and they destroy one of them in capturing them, so they only get 14 of them. Yeah. It's a great battle. Because it's one of those battles to where, okay, the Imperials are going to win this. And then something happens to where, okay, now the Rebels have the advantage. And then something happens, the Imperials have, and it goes back and forth, and you never know what's coming at all. I mean, it's a roller coaster of a
and I believe
battle.
this is a battle in which Sabayoth ends up, one of the first times where he really ends up being a thorn in Thrawn's side. Do you recall that?
Yes, the Thrawn wants to go join the battle, and Sabayoth strides onto the ship and says, "Nope, I'm taking over, and we're going to have a talk right now," because he's gone completely mad and decided that he's the Emperor, and so he does become a real thorn in Thrawn's side, and probably cost Thrawn that battle, quite honestly.
Yeah,
But at the same time, he might have saved Thrawn's life.
Yeah, and I think.
Well, remember,
Sabayoth, he makes that point afterwards, and even though he's insane, it makes you think like, well, he might be right. He kind of did potentially save Thrawn's life.
Yeah,
but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, because the ship that Thrawn sent in instead of his ship gets destroyed, and so if that had been Thrawn's Star Destroyer coming in, he might have been the one who died. So kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Kind of a thing, A mature, I haven't heard any mature elements. Alex has mentioned that he's heard the D word used occasionally. It might be it would slip past my ears, and I wouldn't notice it. But other than that, it's Star Wars. It's as far as I'm concerned, family friendly.
I would say that there's elements to it that it can be a bit dark for children, but specifically like with I would say Mara Jade in some cases, but it depends on just your family upbringing and whatnot. But which we didn't really touch on Mara Jade. I just wanted to mention real fast that Mara Jade, I really enjoy what they do with her in the second book as to how she starts to realize, because what we find out about her is that she worked like directly for the Emperor, and before the Emperor died, and to see how now there's still a bit of, even though the Emperor is dead, he still left an impression almost through the Force on Mara Jade, and now she's being influenced by some of what the Emperor's final instructions to him had been, and I just like really seeing the development of Mara Jade as a character through. Well,
and when Alex said those parts might be kind of dark for children, I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, depending upon, different children have different sensitivities and how sensitive your children are because of the narration and because of the sound effects that they do. When she is having these visions of the Emperor speaking to her, they could actually, I could see them scaring a kid who was kind of sensitive to stuff like that, a little one. Yeah, because, I mean, me as that was enjoyable, but a little kid, I can see that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you want to add?
No, that's about it. That was all that I think Mara Jade was done really well.
And I'm still very curious to see book 3. Is she going to go to the dark side or the light side? I mean, no clue at all. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you like my channel, please subscribe. Turn on notifications. But most importantly, no matter what else you do today, make sure that today you listen to at least one really, really good book. And both Alex and I highly recommend The Dark Force Rising, Book 2 of the Thrawn Trilogy by Timothy Zahn, narrated by Marc Thompson.